Well, I don't know if I'm blessed or cursed to go after two gold nugget stories, but I'll give it a whirl. So Barksdale Capital is a base metal exploration company with projects primarily in the United States. We have copper porphyries as well as Skarn and Manto systems. Unlike a lot of the companies here, we're Canadian, so we have a much smaller share count, 32 million outstanding, about the 18 to 22 million market cap depending on the day. Plenty of cash on the balance sheet to ride out the next year or so, and a curated list of shareholders, including Eric Sprott, and a number of well-known funds in Canada and the United States that support us. Our flagship asset is the Sunnyside project in Arizona. If any of you are familiar with Arizona mining, which was recently taken out by South 32, we are the guys to the left. We have the property called Sunnyside that is immediately west of the Taylor Hermosa discovery, the very large lead, zinc, silver discovery. We have an option to earn into Sunnyside, as well as four metals and other properties slightly to the south. This is the model that we're working with. We have Peter McGaw on staff as a senior consultant with us. This is his model type for what's going on in the area, and this is how it's playing out quite remarkably in the actual rocks. We know that we have at least one porphyry copper on our property called Sunnyside. We know that we have a skarn system developed around that porphyry copper, the extent of which is unknown at this point. And then from that emanates out into various carbonate units, a series of mantos and presumably chimney deposits, with superficial expressions being epithermal veins, so silver, lead, zinc, silver veins. The property at Sunnyside was actually underwent a bunch of exploration in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s by Sarco, who were looking for porphyries. As you can see here by the tenor of mineralization, they were successful. They're intercepted not only a series of relatively small but high-grade copper breccia pipes that come to surface, but also two porphyries. The average grade of the porphyry is good if it was at surface, but unfortunately the top of these systems was sufficiently deep that it could never pull a pit. So while it was a geologic success, it was kind of an economic failure for the time. The great side outcome of this exploration program was in the northeast corner of the property, along the flanks of this porphyry system, where they intercepted a skarn. So these intercepts came from our side of the property, drilled by Sarco in 1981. These show that the Taylor system, which is a 150 million ton ore body just across the property line, actually continues on and across our property. So we basically have the down dip extension of it. This was obviously what attracted us to this property and the reason why we did the option deal. We saw that the majors had positioned themselves in this region. There was a lot of value being had from Arizona mining, and we saw this property sitting there with no real sponsor. So we were lucky to get an option deal wrapped around this. And we're very lucky to have a group, or two groups now, that are basically spending their money de-risking our project while we wait for drill permits. But as you can see from these intercepts, 38 meters of 15% lead zinc, 230 gram silver, and so on and so forth, the system is alive and well. And these systems are kind of like feather duvets. Every once in a while, the feathers will lump up, and you'll get these big clumps. Well, that's exactly what we're seeing on this side of the property, and then in between these big clumps or strongly mineralized zones, we have thinner zones where the grade and the system is still alive, and that's what we're seeing here. So lots of open ground on our side, and this is really the reason why we're very excited. This is what we're using as a bit of an arm-wavy template for what could be. This is a diagram of the Bingham Canyon system in Utah that Kennecott is currently mining. As you can see, the center of the system is a large porphyry copper with an extensive skarn system developed around the outside. All of the black lenses, the little tentacle-shaped things that you see here, those are lead, zinc, silver, mantos, and veins. It wasn't until 1966 that the value of copper mined from the system exceeded that of the lead zinc silver. If you think of the porphyry as the center of a clock face, this diagram clearly shows that there are a number of mantos and veins that extend around the center. We're hoping that the same thing holds true at Sunnyside. We know that Taylor is a very large manto, being 150 million tons. It puts to shame most of the mantos here in this system, but we're hoping that around the clock dial, the clock face at Sunnyside, that we host more than one. And obviously, we hope that the darn thing's on our side of the property. This is what we know to date. It's a very cartoonish schematic, but we have the Sunnyside porphyry with the copper shell developed, as well as a diatreme system. We have the drilling that shows that the Skarn system is alive and well on our side of the property. Really, the $100 million question for us is between the property boundary and the copper porphyry, how much real estate do we have? If that boundary moves to the east, it'll chew up a lot of the prospective ground. If it's further than the west that we think, we could actually be in for quite a nice surprise. And then please take into account the third dimension here. So around that clock face, what type of potential do we have? And we're doing geophysical works right now to try to see if we can see the signature of these carbonate units around the perimeter of the porphyry. Another target that we have that's been kind of coming out of some of the ground geologic work that we've been doing are a number of vein targets. This district historically was mined for high-grade silver lead zinc veins. They can carry quite a considerable amount of silver, up to half a kilo, as well as 10 to 20% lead zinc, primarily lead in these zones that the zinc had leached out, at least in the surface, near surface environment. Intercepts that have occurred on the other side of the property line have been down to 1,100 plus meters. So we believe that these veins represent leakage from the skarn and the mantos at depth, and we're going to use these as vectoring tools, basically drilling them out from surface to depth, hoping that they guide us to deeper seated manto and skarns. As far as the team, I am a geologist turned banker. I was at RCF for a number of years and helped them with their exploration fund. I've got a team of very experienced gold and porphyry guys from Newmont, as well as Peter McGaw enlisted here. And then the last fellow here is a permitting expert. We're on Forest Service land in the United States, so we don't anticipate to be drilling until next year. But the prize will be worth the wait, and that's what I'll leave you with today. No dings, so quite happy.